Good evening again from Nicaragua. Wanted to give you another update today on the activities that have been going on during the day today. The day started off with two different opportunities of places to go for worship service this morning. The first was here locally in San Marcos, where our hotel accommodations are. Kirk and four of the younger guys went to services there. There they got to see several of the preachers that had accompanied us in the campaign in March that Kirk and I were a part of, and also the new graduate of the School of Preaching in Panama attended the congregation there this morning. Great news from that. The young man, that is his son, that the graduate's son, his name is Elvis, he was baptized this morning. So that's great news, a great way to start the day. The second opportunity for worship was in Montefresco, which is right near the international airport in Managua. We went there this morning. Chuck and I went to the church there this morning because a really good friend of mine that I've been kind of working with, encouraging over the last several years, had decided that today he also was going to be baptized. So, man, it's just a great start to the week to experience two baptisms, two new babes in Christ right off this morning. Where Chuck and I were this morning, Mario Mendetta was the preacher there this morning. He did a fantastic job. After his sermon, delivered the invitation, and Noel responded and then was baptized into Christ. Such a great day. I was so blessed to be there with them this morning. It was kind of a really neat thing to experience that this morning after the baptism, they took the Lord's Supper, and then after the Lord's Supper, they participated in the offering. They asked Noel immediately after he was baptized to offer the prayer and to issue the service of the offering and to pass the plate. And I just thought, man, what a really good thing to go ahead and invest in him and in the family there in Montefresco, and such a really good thing. So proud of Noel. I've known him for a lot of years, and so just really am proud of his decision today. After we participated in the services there, we had to go eat lunch at the local mall and then hurry to Guillermo Hernandez's home. There, he and one of the preachers from Chinandega were waiting on us to take them to the Future Preacher Training Camp. They each have 3 young men from their home congregations, and so we had all of these people, plus some family members of some folks that we needed to help get to the hotel here in San Marcos. While we were waiting on Maximo to arrive, Guillermo and I had been discussing the plans for the medical team that's going to be happening in Esteli in July. There are 2 doctors that go to church where Guillermo preaches. And so I had the opportunity to meet both of them this morning and spent a little bit of time with them dreaming and planning about the things that we need to accomplish in order to make sure that we can have a very successful campaign there. What do we have to do to buy the medicines? What do we have to do to make sure that all of the paperwork is done just right so that there'll be no problem with the government when we try to have this medical campaign? It can be a very sensitive issue, and I'm grateful to have 2 doctors that are knowledgeable in this area to help us get this done. So they're they're a young couple actually. They're not married, but they're dating and engaged, in fact. So such a blessing to have that kind of talent here locally in Nicaragua. So can't wait for the fruits of the labor that we discussed this morning. After we finished that meeting, we loaded everybody up into 2 trucks and we headed off onto San Marcos, where the camp started. Slowly but surely, all the young men started arriving this afternoon. After they arrived, we split them up into different age groups and placed them into rooms. A lot of them with counselors in the rooms with them. It's such a well-organized thing. Chuck and Kirk have done such a great job in getting all this put together. I can't say enough as to, these guys are experts at this. They've done it so many times, and they really have a handle on everything that needs to happen in order to pull this off. Once we got all the kids separated into the rooms, we had an orientation out under a gazebo. There they kind of learn the camp rules. They get to know their counselors. They get to know their teachers. It's just kind of a beginning. It helps get them situated in the camp. Several parents stayed behind to kind of see what all was going on. It was just kind of a neat thing. After the orientation, we had worship service where they asked me to give the message of the hour, and so it was a blessing. I talked about an idea that came from a song that I just really dearly love. It's called "Make Me a Storm," and the idea behind the lesson is that we talk about all these different stories in the Bible where we see how a storm plays a part in affecting the lives of maybe the characters in the story. Well, I took a little different approach with this in that most of the time we focus on the outcome of the characters or the people in the story. But one of the things that we can focus on is that if we think about the storm itself, the storm always obeys. In every story where there's a storm involved, the storm is obeying the voice of God. And never asks why. It never second guesses. It always does exactly what it's told. And it's such a neat idea to think that we could be more like the storms and the seas and the waves that obey the voice of God without question. After the worship service, we all came back in for dinner. And then after dinner, all the guys went out and they're playing different games to kind of get acquainted, different icebreaker games. And so it's just going off really, really well. Again, I can't say enough about how much Kirk and Chuck have done to make sure this is such a well-oiled machine. 3 prayer requests that we have for tonight. Again, first of all, please pray for my family. I'm so blessed to be able to communicate with them in such a far better way than my dad ever did. For those of you that don't know, my dad has pioneered this work and did so many set so many foundations in this work over the last several years, and I can't imagine doing mission work the way he did it. When he left to go for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, once he was outside of a major city, there was no calling at home every night. There was no FaceTime. There was no internet. There wasn't any of these things that we so much take for granted now. I get to FaceTime my wife every day. I get to talk to my son anytime that I need to. It's just, it's a blessing. It's still hard to be away from them, but I get to see them every day and communicate with them every single day. I'm thankful to God for that blessing. There's so many blessings that I have that God has just blessed me with, and my family is the greatest of those blessings here on earth. Second prayer request is to pray for our new brother in Christ, Noel. And also the third prayer request is to pray for our new brother in Christ, Elvis. Both of those young men really have a great start. They've got a lot of potential. As with any new Christian, you want to make sure that they have a good foundation, that they have a good start in their Christian walk, and just pray for their faith and their security in their salvation over a long period of time as they serve God the rest of their lives. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. Thank you for your prayers, and as always, to God be the glory.